NexStream as an instructor and curriculum developer. And I chose CS because I feel like CS as a field is extremely broad, and there's so many things, so many cool things you can do with it. And there's just no way that there's nothing that is interesting. So I think I'll definitely find something that everyone can find something that they'll really enjoy doing.
Okay, that's great. Breast. Okay, thank you. Also, thank you, Taigen, for helping our students from many angles. Thank you. And Juna?
Hey, hi, my name is Juna, and currently I'm a second year studying CS and cognitive science at Berkeley, and I'm also an instructor at NexStream. And one reason or one sentence for why I chose CS is because I just found it really interesting and fun to do, and I just found myself being able to work on it for like hours on end without getting tired, unlike a lot of other subjects that I had to learn about in school. Yeah.
So you're very engaged when you're doing coding, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you. And Juna will be our instructor for our China program for machine learning, along with her classmate, Crystal from UC Berkeley. Thank you, Juna. And Tina.
Hello, I'm Tina. I'm a second year computer science student at UCLA, and as a former instructor at NexStream Institute. I chose CS mainly because I took AP Computer Science in high school, and I really loved the problem-solving aspect, the logical thinking. So it's really satisfying to be able to solve problems in the world using computer science.
Okay, problem solving. Thank you, Tina. And Amber.
Hi, I'm Ember. I'm a second year at Stanford currently and also former instructor at NexStream. I chose CS because I thought it was a really interesting field, like with problem solving and the diverse fields like Taigen and Juna and Tina have said, but also because I think that a lot of our future is going to be finding the field pretty foundational for like technological advancement. And I just think it's really cool that I can make an impact by pursuing that field, especially with artificial intelligence and other subfields like that. So I think, like Taigen said, people can find their niche in CS and make an impact.
Okay, that's great. I also understand you have a psychology degree, right? Or you're pursuing psychology, Amber?
Right. So I just say CS because it's simpler, and that's my main focus. But at Stanford, there's actually a special major called symbolic systems, where you're studying CS as well as philosophy and psychology. And I'm really interested in all three of those fields, which is why I'm studying that specifically.
Wow, that's very intriguing. Okay, that's great. So I need to find two of our other guest speakers. Caitlin, are you online?
I'm here. Yeah, this is Caitlin. I wasn't able to join. There's something really wrong with my Wi-Fi, so I'm just using a phone to dial in today. Sorry about that. Quick intro. I'm Caitlin. I studied mathematics with specialization in computer science at UC San Diego, and I graduated last year, so class of 2020, and I'm currently a software engineer at Facebook. The reason that I chose my major was because my dad is a math teacher, so he has been engaging me in math ever since I was like a kid, and it's just been a really big part of my life growing up, and I love problem solving, so it just felt really natural for me to choose my major. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So, Caitlin, my understanding, you were also an international student, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Taiwan and came to, well, I was actually born in the U.S. and then my family moved to Taiwan when I was 6. And I grew up there, went to local schools, and when I graduated high school, I came back to the States to study at UCSD.
Wow, you command a great American accent. Yeah, hats off to you. Awesome. Awesome. You know, growing up in different parts of the world and being able to speak American English like that, it's very respected. Yeah. So great.
My parents tried very hard.
I see. Beautiful, beautiful. So, okay. So next is Michael. Is Michael here? Michael?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Michael, would you mind please turn on your camera for us?
Oh, sure.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, hello, I'm Mike. I graduated from UC Berkeley last year, the major in data science and minor in CS. I interned at NexStream until pretty recently, and now I'm applying for graduate school.
Okay, and your major CS data science, right?
Yeah, data science and minor in CS.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, both Michael and Tygan were the students of Mr. Morrow, right, at CCA?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. Yeah, I told Mr. Morrow about this event. Yeah, he's very excited. Okay, that's great. And I just want to introduce Juna and Tina. Probably, I don't know whether you know each other. I think you both, okay, you know each other. Got it, from Westview. Okay, both are great schools in San Diego, top public schools in San Diego. Okay, so what we hear is, welcome everybody. My name is Dan. I think I had, every event I give a very, very quick introduction about myself and why we are doing this event, okay? So first is, you guys can link me, through LinkedIn. And I'm a founder of Hattie.com, which is a collaborative educational platform. We collaborate with teachers like Ms. Pont, quite a few experienced teachers, and bring classes to both Asia and North America. The same time, same curriculum, same teacher, it's just a different time, okay? And I'm also co-founder for NexStream, which is here. And CCA's teacher, Mr. Morrow, and Babak, three of us, we were all at Qualcomm and for quite a few years, and we decided to launch this together to educate more American students with STEM technology. Because we often work with, when we look for resumes, it's very difficult to find local engineers. And that's why Mr. Morrow left, in industry, we get paid pretty well overall compared to educators. And he left the industry and start teaching at CCA 7-8 years now. Yeah, so hats off to him. And we kicked this project off during COVID last spring. And yeah, I think quite a few, I think except for Juna, and all of you were initial interns in the beginning with us. So thank you for trusting us, because we were very, very, very new at that time. And a little bit about, so Hattie is that I actually work with quite a few interns, and we have a very good intern team to establish this platform. And this whole thing right now using the forum is done by Ryan, and he's a high school intern at Torrey Pines, also a local high school in San Diego. And we have high school students, we have college students, range from UPenn, Washington Lee, Berkeley, and UCLA. And now we also Berkeley, we have other students we haven't put on the picture yet. Berkeley, we also have middle school students, high school students working with us. And right now it's kind of the temporary platform. We have 6 engineers that are building a robust booking system and payment system. And it will be more convenient for all the parents and students and educators and also interns. Everything will be automated. Hopefully our initial launch will be in July. So anyway, and we do have summer programs. Here I just highlight more on the STEM side, since a lot of students are interested in STEM. We have in the US, machine learning and computer engineering, more late afternoon, Pacific time summer program. We also have other humanities program. Ms. Pont here is going to teach, reading, math reading and writing, and please check it out. However, just kind of let you guys know, we're very likely going to launch a physical summer camp at CCA, and we are working with CCA Foundation. Most proceeds will go to CCA Foundation. So if parents feel more comfortable sending their children to a physical location because they're just so tired of the kids being in the house and looking at the screen, we'll send everybody in more information for sign up. We'll be sign up signing up will be through CCA Foundation. Okay, so that's for US. We have the computer engineering and the machine learning summer program. And for Asia, we also have machine learning, and actually Juna and Crystal and 3 other TAs or stream assistants will be leading. So we have 5 instructors or TAs working with 8 students. And it's also going to be all in English, but all 3 TAs command perfect Chinese. And so we're going to have machine learning in Asia. And that's the time. It's 18 sessions, 18 sessions. So all said, I will just last very quick note, why we did this last summer, why we did Hattie is because of COVID. And I do global recruiting for LO7. We have thousands of teachers and tutors, and a lot of them were not able to get enough classes because both sides of the world were shutting down. And that's the whole reason that we launched Hattie. It's called HOT. HOT is Help Our Teachers, that project. And the whole company, the Hattie, what does that mean? It's named after my family dog. So cute, right? Yeah, she's still around, but very, very old, 11 years old. So anyway, that's my quick sharing. And we'll go back to the original topic of CS and CE and the DS, data science. So the first question is, what's the requirements to declare a major? At UCLA, when you are admitted, okay, Tiger and Tina, are you becoming automatically a CS or CE student? Or do there are requirements to fill before you declare a major? Okay, Tiger?
Yeah, sure. So at UCLA, I believe when you're admitted, you basically get a whatever major you applied for, you basically just get that. They'll tell you right away, are you eligible for CS? And then I believe you just basically declare it right away. And then I believe the process for changing majors within the engineering school is also not super difficult. But yeah, you get to declare that right away, I believe.
Oh, that's why we all love UCLA. Wow, no risk. Yeah, very good. And Tina, any additional comments?
Yeah, so I actually came into UCLA as a computer science and engineering major, so CSE. And so within the School of Engineering, it's very easy to switch. You just have to like fill out a form and meet some very minor requirements, such as getting like a B- or something in some certain classes. But I switched into computer science from computer science and engineering. But if you want to switch into a School of Engineering from another school, it's a little bit harder there. So you have to meet a lot more requirements, like a GPA requirement or passing some other certain classes.
Okay, I'm Tina. Yeah, okay, that's good. So what Tina's saying that switching major in School of Engineering is easy, but switching between different colleges at UCLA is a little bit difficult, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so the same question go to Juna and Mike at the UC Berkeley side. What's the challenge there?
Okay, yeah, I can start. So for Berkeley, our CS major is in the College of Letters and Science. And so when you apply, you basically apply to the college itself. And when you're accepted, you get accepted as an undeclared student. So for the College of Letters and Science, you come in as undeclared, and then you have to complete a few courses and get a certain average grade in order to declare like any major really. But for CS, there's 3 main courses that you have to take, which are CS 61A, 61B, and CS 70. And you need an average grade of you need an average GPA for those 3 courses of a 3.3. And then after that, the process is really easy. You just fill out a form and then you process it and you're declared.
Okay, probably that's why a lot of people have the perception of Berkeley being difficult. Okay, that's great. Okay, and Mike, how about DS, data science as a major?
DS is actually much easier to get into because it's the same situation where you just apply letters in science and go in undeclared, but you don't need the 3.3. I think you only need a 2.0, like most of the other majors. So
Okay.
It's not capped.
Okay. So yeah, for folks that they have more humanities majors, but they want to get into a little bit of the STEM, probably DS is, do you recommend DS? Like for
DS
double
is
major?
still mostly STEM though. It's like might be a little more on the stats side, but it's still a lot of CS, and you have to take a lot of lower div and upper div CS. So there's not
okay.
that much humanities actually.
Okay, I got it. I got it. It's very hardcore CS, the STEM oriented. Okay, thank you, Mike. And Amber, I know, very difficult. I just watched the movie yesterday. I recommend everybody watch it, documentary, Try Harder, about Lowell High School, and everybody want to get into Stanford. So Amber, your turn.
Yeah, actually for declaring CS at Stanford, it's pretty easy. So you get into the school undeclared, and you can declare anytime, even in your first or second year. You're required to declare by sophomore spring though, and they'll remind you for that. But yeah, there's no like classes or specific requirements in order to declare. You just fill out an online form anytime in your year, and you can also change majors whenever you like as well. So yeah, it's fairly straightforward for that particular declaration.
Okay. Very flexible school, but you admit very limited number of students. So okay.
Right.
And Caitlin, UCSD, and a lot of our this year from CCA students are going to UCSD. So a lot of parents and the students are online.
Okay, yeah. At UCSD, I feel like it's pretty similar to UCLA. When you first get admitted to UCSD, you're either admitted directly as a CS student or you're not. And you have up until, end of your sophomore year to declare a major. And if you weren't declared as a CS major when you were admitted, you will have to apply. The way it works is a little different from UCLA, though. You do take a handful of underdiv classes. You have to have at least a 3.3 GPA, and then you can apply. And when you apply, you're entered into a lottery system, and they choose several people out of the lottery by random. But if you were admitted as an engineering student at UCSD, it's also really easy to change into CS. So it sounds like it's pretty similar to UCLA, but we just have like a weird lottery system there. Yeah.
Okay. So just from my perspective, a quick summary is Stanford, a little bit more flexible than UCLA, and then UCSD, because you still need a lottery system, you still have GPA requirements. I'm sorry, Golden Bears, your school is the most difficult. Sounds like from the CS point of view, but why not? DS is great. Everything's driven by data, perfect major. I don't think at the end, job, career opportunity and pay, I don't think there will be much difference between DS and CS or CE. So, okay, that's great. And let's move on. The next question, the parents all care, class size. Okay, so it's a lower division class first and then upper division. Tigan and Tina, UCLA, lower division class size. How big for CS?
Okay, I guess I can go first. So I think that our CS classes for lower div, I'm actually having a hard time remembering, but I know we definitely have at least a couple hundred students, I believe. And I'm more familiar with upper div. I've been recently taking a few, and those are usually around, I'd say 100 to 200 students each. But then some of the more popular ones, I believe, like some of the required ones that everyone has to take can go up to about 300, I believe. I believe like CS 180 was 300 students this quarter. And yeah, so the class sizes are fairly large, 200, 300 each. Maybe Tina can add to that.
Okay, Tina?
Yeah. For the lower divs, well, we're also capped in terms of like how big our lecture halls are. So I think the largest one for lower div was maybe 300, maybe not even reaching 400. So I think that's the largest I've seen before. And that's just because like the room is not big enough. So they had to split it between two professors and have different class times for that. but nothing too big above that.
Okay, well, okay, then let's listen to the Berkeley students. How big is your class size, Juna?
Okay, yeah. So especially for our lower div classes, they're pretty huge. I think one of my classes had around 1,000 students, and like we're not really limited by like I guess classroom size, because people know that like some people eventually will stop showing up because lectures are broadcasted online, and or you have like you can access the videos, so some people just don't go and they just watch the videos at home. But I think another reason why some of the classes are like so big is because computer science is one of the biggest majors at Berkeley. And then also our lower division classes are kind of, I'd say like notorious, I guess, a little bit like among other majors. So there are some seniors who will just take like the CS lower division classes for like the Berkeley experience. So that's a little bit of the reason why so many people like just go and take the CS lower division classes. But a lot of the times, like class sizes won't really affect anything major because you still have your small discussion, like little sections, and those are usually around 20-ish people with a UGSI. And so those times you can just get a little more one-to-one, like I guess feedback or help if that's what you want. And there's also like there's basically a lot of resources if you like need it. And so if like anybody is concerned about like class sizes, it's not that bad, and it gets a lot smaller when you get to the upper division courses.
Okay, so, okay, thank you, Juna. Mike, you want to comment on the DS and also the upper division class size?
Yeah, actually, most of my upper divs were CS classes because there's so much overlap. For upper div, I think is typically like less than 500, maybe like 300 or 400, which is still pretty big. But don't worry, you still have like discussions and labs even in the upper divs.
Okay, I see, I see. Okay, sounds like the Berkeley upper division class is even bigger than the UCLA lower division. Okay, so let's listen now to Amber. And what's your class size? We're envious now.
Yeah, I'd say probably similar numbers. So for all the lower div classes, definitely like 200, 300 or more.
Okay.
Just because it's also really popular. Stanford has like a huge CS community scene. I actually think I heard that like 60% of Stanford students take the first CS level, like 106A. So it's definitely really popular. And then like, I'd say somewhere in the middle there, you'd get classes around 200 or so, just for like people who are studying the major more seriously, because the lower div classes are inflated by other people who aren't even majoring in CS, but would like to have a little knowledge on it. And then for like very upper div, I'd say, I'm not too sure for every class, but I'd say a lot less, maybe like 100 or so, just because it gets pretty specialized after you get all your core classes done. And like the others have said, we also have discussions and labs that are more like 10 to 20 people, even in the lower div classes. So it's not really too big of a deal.
Okay. Okay, well, that's a little bit different from my own perception. I thought a private school, all the classes are very smaller. So the 300, 100 is still pretty big class size, of course, because of CS, right? So, okay, thank you, Amber. And Caitlin, how about UCSD? It's right next to my house, UCSD.
Yeah, for our lower division classes, we also get a really big number for class size. It also ranges anywhere between like 200, 300, especially for really intro classes. And we're normally limited by classroom sizes. So we try not to go above whatever the classroom can accommodate. And I know we already use all the biggest classrooms for our CS under division. For upper division, it really depends. There are some really, really big ones. And then there are ones that are more project-based, ones that are more compact, and those are limited to maybe like 50 students. And for the really, really big ones, it can also go up to 200. And because our classes are in so high demand for even non-CS or non-engineering students, we have this system where the school tries to make sure CS students will be able to enroll in their required classes to graduate. So they have this time frame where CS students are able to enroll in the classes beforehand, before all other majors get to join the class if they're interested, just to protect, CS majors and make sure they're able to graduate in time because they meet all the requirements.
Yeah. That's very good, Caitlin. So your comment and your response actually delve into another question about graduation years. I know Berkeley will get everybody out within 4 years or even less because the school, right? It's too many students. And actually, my husband went undergraduate in UCSD. Honestly, it took him 5 years for whatever the reason. So is there any perception at UCSD and UCLA folks need to take 5 years to graduate? On the engineering, he was an engineering undergraduate. So
for UCSD, for UCSD, it's not uncommon for engineers to take 5 years to graduate, just because how difficult classes can be, and normally students don't want to overload themselves with many, many difficult classes, especially when you're a senior.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you know the percentage? 10, 15% graduate within 5 years, or half?
Less than half for sure, but I know a good handful of students who choose to do a 15. So I don't know the exact number, unfortunately, but I would say it's not uncommon at all.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Okay, how about Tiger and Tina? What's your view about UCLA students? How many years on average? 4 years, 5 years?
Okay, I guess I can start again. I think I'd say generally it is 4 years, though I think 5 years or around 5 years is definitely not unheard of. I just did a quick Google search. It says 68% get a bachelor's degree within 4 years, and then 88 get it within 5 years. So it's not super uncommon, but I would say it's definitely very, very possible to graduate within 4, maybe even less, depending on how much AP credit you've gotten. So I know, like, if you came from CCA or other high schools nearby, you probably have quite a bit of AP credit that will definitely help you a lot. I personally got to skip like 7 classes or something from my AP credit, which is really nice, and I can very easily graduate within 4. So yeah, I think
great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the benefit, right, for the parents and the student. Parents pushing the students. Students want to do it at AP as well. Save a good amount of tuition as well. So okay, I got it for the AP. And Tina, any comments about UCLA?
Yeah, exactly as Tigan said, it's I think it's very reasonable to graduate within 4 years, although some people could take 5 if they want to take it much more relaxed. As for me, I also came in with a lot of units. So if I really wanted to, I could graduate in 3 years, but personally, I want to explore other classes. I don't want to rush myself. So right now I'm on pace to take only 3 classes a quarter and graduate within 4 years. So I'm taking like a very relaxed schedule basically. And that's because of the AP credits that I came in with.
Okay, they're paying off. Okay, that's great. How about Juna and Mike, UC Berkeley? Okay, maybe ask a question with Mike first. You already graduated. How many years did you take?
4 years.
4
and
years.
Then I think you're right about Berkeley getting through students pretty quickly, because I just checked, and then the 4-year graduation rate is 76%.
Okay.
And then
okay, I see.
Yeah, I only knew one super senior, and then I think everyone else graduated in either 3 or 4 years.
Yes, yeah, Berkeley, that's an advantage at Berkeley for some reason. Okay, and you got your major and you got your minor. Okay, that's great. And Juna, any other to add to Berkeley?
Yeah, I think it's while it's not common for like people to take 5 years, it's definitely not unheard of. Like I feel like everybody will know at least one person who's taken 5 years. But I think something else to add is that like it's not like super hard to finish all of your requirements. I'm double majoring, and although like my second major, which is cog sci, has a lot of overlap with CS, I think I can comfortably finish both majors in 4 years. Like when I was coming up with my 4-year plan, for the last few semesters, I was only taking like one class from each major, and I was trying to figure out what other classes to like get above the minimum unit cap. So it's definitely doable even for like double majoring. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. How about Amber, Stanford? 4 years, 5 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I definitely think it's very doable to do it in, I think most people still just do it in 4 years, just because like how Tina mentioned, you want to take your time and take as many classes. You can even take all the cool classes you possibly could, so, why not make the best of it? And like, I think there is a little bit of planning that you need to do, just because the paths to like take your core classes, and then those are requirements for the next set of classes, and then so on and so forth. So you do need to kind of plan so that you're taking the core classes earlier on in the year. Otherwise, it might get a little bit difficult. But other than that, I think it's pretty comfortable. I'm almost done with most of my major requirements by the end of my junior year, and I think I'll be set. So yeah, and also I'm planning on taking, like I know a lot of other students are, the co-term program where you spend another year to do even more courses and some research to get your master's early. So that's also another option that a lot of students take, and that'll end up being 5 years, but with your master's. So.
Okay, that's great. I think Berkeley has that program as well. Not sure about UCLA. And okay, now this is a good question. Maybe I'll ask Caitlin first. Can we do a 5-year program at UCSD, just like what Amber described?
Yeah, we normally call it BSMS. We just call it BSMS, and I think it's possible for almost any engineering major to do that at UCSD. I have to double check, but definitely doable for CS and CE majors, and even Math CS majors, where you do a 5-year program and get both your CS and MS.
不影响你啦。Okay, that's good. Okay, so for that, the same 5-year UCLA, do you guys know about it, Taigen and Tina?
Yeah, there is one at UCLA. I believe the requirements are a little bit difficult, but it's like, I think above like a 3.5 GPA for some like major classes, but there is a 5-year program.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. Okay, so now let's switch to the other popular one. One question is, most people want to hear, how difficult is your program? Are you really struggling or cruise control? Okay, I'm gonna start with Taigen, always. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So I think this has a lot to do with the fact that I was able to come in with a lot of credit already. But because I'm sort of like in the same boat as Tina, where I've been taking pretty relaxed schedules, I've been doing about 3 classes every quarter, and I'm on track to graduate. I'd say overall, it's pretty doable, but I would definitely not say it is easy at all. And I think most people would definitely agree. So coming from CCA, I think CCA prepared me very well, but I do think UCLA is definitely a tier above CCA, even CCA in terms of difficulty. There are some CS classes that are basically free A's, but a lot of the upper divs are very notoriously difficult. Yeah, but I think overall it's pretty manageable. I'm still able to like relax and have free time for myself pretty much every quarter. So I think it's overall pretty doable, but definitely not very easy.
Okay, I see. How about Tina?
Yeah, exactly as Tegan said. I think personally, UCLA does really well in having a good work-life balance. So I love being involved in a lot of organizations on campus, and I definitely do have a lot of free time to explore other interests. So the classes are very manageable, but as Tegan said, they're not super easy. So as a high school student coming from a very competitive high school, I thought I would be very well prepared, but everyone at UCLA is the top of their high school. So you're competing against like everyone is really talented and works really hard. But I will say that the culture at UCLA I've found is really helpful. Everyone's very supportive. So if you need any help, students are more than happy to help you out. But overall, it's very manageable, I feel.
Okay, that's great. How about now let's change to Cal. Juna.
Okay, yeah, I think a lot of this depends on the classes that you are taking because there are so many people that are applying to get into the CS major at Berkeley. It's like it's a pretty common sentiment that some of the lower division courses are even harder than some of the upper division ones. So it's really based on courses. Like one of the lower division courses that you have to take in order to declare is pretty notoriously hard. And I guess it's like a way to weed out some people. And then, but there are also like pretty relaxed upper division courses. So it's like basically how you balance your courses within your schedule. Because there are both like easy, or not really easy, but like easier and a lot harder upper division courses too. So I think it's just a matter of figuring out which courses are commonly thought of as not as time consuming or difficult conceptually, and which courses are, and then putting them in your schedule so that you're not overwhelmed. Yeah, I think
Okay.
overall it's like not too difficult, really.
Okay, you can handle it if you're like you guys pretty much all come from very competitive high school. Okay, I got it. So Mike, and so the question was the same thing, but it's more about the efforts at CCA. It's very competitive. Number one public school in California, like Lowell, right? Like a gun. Okay, compared to like it's more efforts that you have to spend at CCA or around the same.
It's actually about balancing the efforts you put in at CCA versus putting it in at Berkeley, because there's a trade-off. If you take like every AP class at CCA, then you might get to skip like 5 or 6 classes at Berkeley, and then that really helps you like getting your schedule relaxed enough so that you can graduate in time. So I think the schedule is manageable.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of AP, but I know the students all take AP now. I know a little bit of why we're doing this. Okay, Amber, how about Stanford?
Yeah, and I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but just as far as AP credit goes, I took the 2 AP CS classes, but it doesn't really count as credit for Stanford, so it doesn't really make a difference. The only really relevance it has is that if you have some really basic programming experience before coming into the school, you can probably just comfortably skip the very first level of CS classes. And for me, since I took those classes, I could, but you don't even have to do that if you have sufficient experience. But yeah, as far as difficulty, like I mentioned, the earlier classes that you can kind of skip with basic programming, they're pretty easy in the sense of that Stanford is really like encouraging of everyone to take that CS class for that big CS community. But other than that, like the others have said, I'd say it's definitely manageable, but the content in classes are still pretty difficult, especially some of the upper div classes that are notoriously hard. And I think the most important thing I would say is that if you just find a good group of people to work with and take the classes together with, that will be the most helpful resource. And also just going to office hours and engaging with the class as much as you can. It's very supportive. So if you know how to reach out, then you'll probably be fine, but it definitely requires a lot of work. So
Okay, that's great. Okay, I think in here, what your feedback really implies a very good strategy or tips to all the younger students. You need to collaborate. You need to ask for help. Don't do it yourself, right? And you can get through it. So ask your teachers, TAs, and work with your peers. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Amber and Caitlin, UCSD. So how difficult? You come from an international background. I would love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, so I went to a local school in Taiwan, Taipei, and so we don't have anything like APs at all, and I didn't even have SAT prep in my school. I had to like go take the SAT outside of my school, and so when I went to UCSD, even though I did have like a very solid like math background, definitely it was a struggle for me in the beginning. I did have to spend a lot of time in office hours and with, you know, the professor's office hours or going to TA to office hours. But in terms of difficulty, I think honestly it comes down to several things. Number one, who is your professor? A lot of times if I find a class extremely difficult, it might be not because the professor is bad, but it's just that his or her teaching style doesn't match up to my preferred learning style. And in those cases, I will just have to go find a TA who I know I can rely on, or I know has a good way of explaining things to me and really like get help from them. And another factor in terms of how difficult something can be for me is how many other things am I also doing outside of academic work. I personally spent a lot of time outside of academics doing things like tutoring for other CS classes and a lot of time in a student org at UCSD. I spent a lot of time in the engineering student council. So a lot of it, I think, comes down to these two things, you know, what is your learning style? Is it compatible with the professor? And number two, what is your schedule like? How much time do you have, and can you put into learning this new thing that you've never learned before? And honestly, as long as you're willing, you know, this was kind of echoed in the previous answers, but as long as you're willing to really ask for help, there are resources, people are going to be willing to help you. And at the end of the day, if you're finding something really, really hard to understand, people will know, people will help you, and you're not alone. And so I think, yeah, it can be difficult, but you really just have to know what to do to unblock yourself when you feel stuck. And I think that's like the key to managing difficult situations and learning hard things.
Okay, that's great. I love your sharing. Yeah, you said a lot, not only just academics, but also, you know, outside of the activities, how we balance it. And then I think the whole point you and Amber all mentioned about seeking help is we have machine learning classes, and a lot of you taught here, and you're like, okay, I always ask, hey, you know, can we help out? It's like the students' camera not turning on, and yeah, they're stuck, but they're not asking help. And we have like 4 or 5 TAs, teachers sitting there trying to help the A students. So whatever, it not necessarily applicable to our classes, and Ms. Pond teaches, you know, 6 to 8 students. That here, the students and the parents, like if you want to learn, and we are here for you, and other schools as well, a lot of opportunities. You guys have to initiate, you guys have to let the teachers know and TA know that you need help. I think that's a very good takeaway from this discussion. Yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you.